I just made my first $2,000 with Claude Code and I'm super stoked about it. So I finally made my first real money from this whole vibe coding thing. And I don't mean I used it to save time or I used it to write some email or I used it to make some random internal tool that maybe saves me a few hours here and there. I mean, I use Claude Code to do real paid client work. So 4 people paid me $500 each to build them custom websites, and Claude Code helped me build the sites inside of Elementor. So Elementor is like a page builder for WordPress, and it's really easy to use so I can hand it off to my clients for them to edit. But anyways, 4 sites, $500 each, that's $2,000 from Claude Code. And I know that $2,000 isn't some crazy life-changing amount of money, but it feels different to me. Like this money feels a little bit different to me because this is the first time that this whole AI coding thing went from just me sitting in my office building weird apps for myself to actually getting paid by real people for something that Claude Code helped me to build. So for the last little while, I've been using Claude Code to build apps, to rebuild my content workflows, to automate YouTube stuff, edit videos, create thumbnails, stuff like that. And all this stuff makes my life a hell of a lot easier, but making money from it is something completely different. So the second that people actually paid for something that I built with Claude Code, I was like, okay, this might be a business. And it meant that Claude Code finally paid me back for all those monthly subscription fees and Anthropic tokens I've been paying for. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how I made my first $2,000 from Claude Code, how I used it with Elementor to build websites faster and way more beautiful than I've ever built them before, and why this opened up a whole new offer inside of a business that I already had. And by the way, if you're new here, I'm Nick Wharton, and AI crushed my blogging businesses a while back, and now I'm trying to use AI and Claude Code and whatever other weird tools I can figure out to try to rebuild a bit of what I lost. And I'm not a programmer, I'm just a dude in my 40s who's trying to figure all this shit out like everybody else, right? AI is taking over and we're all trying to figure it out. So if you want to watch a regular dude try to build apps, tools, websites, and maybe a few actual businesses with AI, hit subscribe if you want to follow along. All right, so let's get back to the video and I'll give you a little bit of my backstory. I've been building websites on and off for well over a decade, and I don't even know the exact number of them that I've built at this point, but I'd guess that I've probably built somewhere between 50 and 60 websites in my life. So some were for myself and my friends, some of them were for our businesses, some of them are for clients, and some were for like random little side projects that never really went anywhere. And I've always been pretty good at building websites. Like I'm a developer and I really enjoy doing it. I know WordPress pretty well. I know Elementor, the website page builder I was talking about earlier that works on WordPress, and I know a little bit of code like CSS code and stuff like that to kind of get the design how I want it. So I know how to put together a site that works, that loads properly, that has the right pages, that has a blog, the opt-in forms, that has a basic funnel, and it does what a new creator or like a new coach or online entrepreneur would want it to do. But I've never been the guy who builds those super slick modern websites where everything moves around and fades in and out and has these cool animated sections and little details that really make it look a lot more expensive, right? I could always get the site done, I could always make it clean, but I could never really make it look like those sites that I saw from those really good professional designers. And that always bugged me because I had the ideas in my head. I could look at a website and know exactly what I wanted. I could say, okay, yeah, I want this section to have like a floating logo cloud, or this button should feel a little bit more premium, or this hero section needs to have some movement or video behind it, or this page needs a better layout for the lead magnet. Like I knew all that stuff, but actually building it myself inside of WordPress was always super slow, and sometimes I just couldn't get it there. I'd spend hours and hours just messing around with little bits of spacing, and I'd watch some YouTube tutorial and try to add a little bit more CSS. And then something would break and then I'd get annoyed because it just didn't look good on mobile or on desktop or whatever. And I'd go back to building the same normal sites that I know how to build anyways. Like I couldn't do anything outside the box. So don't get me wrong, the sites that I built were good. They were always good. It worked, but they didn't have that extra polish, like that extra pizzazz that makes someone look at it and go, oh shit, like this person, this developer who built this site knows what they're doing. And then I started using Claude Code. So at first I was using Claude Code for apps, like I said, and that's kind of where my head was at. I wanted to build tools for my YouTube workflow and tools for writing and tools for editing, tools for uploading, and all the stuff that I've been showing you guys so far here on the channel. But then I started thinking like, wait a second, could I use this thing to help me build better websites? Then I saw a video of someone making websites with this thing and I thought, I could definitely get Claude Code to help me build better websites. Because Elementor itself, the page builder, is already really visual and my clients can already edit on it. Like we've given them a course, we've shown them how to use that program. And I already know how these pages should work and how a good website should look. So I thought, what if I could get Claude Code to help me create the stuff that I always struggled with? So the animations, the custom sections, the better layouts, the little CSS details, all that kind of stuff. And before I ever offered this to my clients, of course, I wanted to test it out on myself. So I built my own personal brand website from scratch for this YouTube channel, nickwharton.com. And it was the first time I really saw it was possible creating websites with Claude Code. Like I wasn't just building another basic WordPress site with a hero section and buttons and some testimonials. I was adding videos that move as you scroll, and I created this sick like Mac Mini section where the whole Mac Mini starts out exploded into all these separate pieces, and then as you scroll down, it actually comes together into one computer, like something like you would see on like the Apple website. And I remember looking at this site after I finished with it and thinking like, oh my God, I can do so much more with this than I ever could before. Because that is exactly the type of thing I would have wanted to build in the past. I could picture it, I could explain it, I could probably find some other website that did something similar, but there would be no way that I could have actually built that myself without spending like 3 days watching tutorials, probably breaking the site, and then I probably would have ended up just giving up and going back to my normal static sites that I would have built before. With Claude Code though, I just explained what I wanted. Then I just go back and forth with it until the thing actually worked the way I wanted it. And after I built that nickwharton.com site, I started thinking, okay, maybe this isn't just a one-off thing. So I used Claude Code again on one of our existing sites, which is a travel site about Ireland. That site's been around for a while and it definitely needed an upgrade. So I used Claude Code to help me redesign it, clean up the layout, make it look more modern, and make the whole thing feel a lot more like a media brand instead of just another old travel blog. And the site came out beautiful. Like it looks so sick. Again, like way better than what I could have built before. And the crazy part is that after the redesign on that website, the traffic actually went up. And obviously, I'm not saying that the design was the only reason the traffic went up. Like you can't really claim that because there's so many different things going on with a content site. But at minimum, it didn't hurt the traffic on the site. And it made it look a hell of a lot better. So now I had two examples. My own personal brand site looked sick, and the Ireland site looked way better than it did before. And every time I was building on this thing, I started getting better and better. The second site was better than the first, and the workflow was just a lot faster because I understood what to ask Claude Code for and kind of how to build out these workflows. And that's when I started thinking like, maybe I can do this for our clients. Because I do have another business besides this YouTube channel that makes me absolutely no money. And I've been running it for a long time with my fiance, Doris, where we kind of help people to launch their own personal brands from scratch. And a lot of people in our community are starting from zero. So they're figuring out their niche, they're figuring out their offer, they're trying to grow on social media, they're trying to get a lead magnet going, and they're trying to get their first email subscribers. And obviously having a website is a big part of that. So they need a homepage, they need an about page, they need a blog, they need a lead magnet page, and they need a place to send people that actually feels real, like feels like a real business. Because it's one thing to post on Instagram or YouTube and just say you're building a business, but it's another thing to have an actual real website online, right? Where people can go and they can see your offer, they can read about your story, they can see your content, and your email list can live there, right? But websites are also one of the main things that slow people down, especially when they're starting a new brand. So they overthink it, they mess with the fonts for 6 weeks, they buy some theme and then they hate the theme, they start building a homepage, and then they decide that they hate the whole brand, they try to redo it. And then in the end, basically nothing gets launched and they give up. And I've honestly seen this happen so many times. So I made a simple offer to the people who are already inside our community. For a limited time, I said I'd build a full custom website for $500. And that's cheap. That's really cheap. As an example, the last website build that I paid a developer to do was $5,000. And even when I built sites for clients before, I had to charge at least $2,000 to make it worth my time. So I knew that this was a crazy good offer, but I wanted to test the workflow. I wanted to see if Claude Code could actually help me build these sites fast enough and well enough that the numbers made sense. Because $500 is not a lot, like I said. And within the first 48 hours, 4 people took me up on the offer. So right away, that was like $2,000 for website work. And as a side note, this was really good for me because my fiance Doris and I have this running joke that ever since I started working on Claude Code, it's been doing nothing but costing me money. Like it's not bringing any money in. So I've already been paying $100 per month for the Claude Max plan. I pay for extra Anthropic tokens. I pay for AI editing software and all these little things that just keep adding up. So Doris joked with me that I can only upgrade to the Claude Max 20 plan at $200 a month if I can actually cover that cost with profit from using Claude Code. Well, this $2,000 covers 10 months. So yeah, I upgraded right away. The minute the sales started rolling in, up went the plan and I'm paying $200 a month for Claude now. Anyways, after the payment came in, that's when the fun really started because now I had to actually build these sites, which like I said before, I love doing. And this is where I realized just how much faster this new workflow really is. The old version of me would have started with like a blank Elementor page, pulled in a few sections, adjusted the spacing, added some images, try to make the homepage look decent. And then I probably would have fought with the mobile version. I would have built out the opt-in page, built the blog layout, added all these little pages, and then spent forever just trying to make it look less boring. Now I can move way faster. So I built this full workflow inside of Claude Code with multiple agents where I give it a client's intake form, which includes the client's niche, their offer, their colors, their logo, their lead magnet, their content ideas, photos of them, and the type of vibe that they want the site to have. And the intake form also gets actual writing examples from the client so that Claude Code can actually match their voice while it's building the pages. I even built it to generate a PDF handover document after the site's finished. And this includes screenshots from the actual live website, and it clearly shows how the design matches what they asked for in their intake form. So the handover PDF will say something like, in your intake form, you said you wanted a dark blue floating menu with a big hero image and bold text at the top. And then it'll take a screenshot of the website and put that right beside it and be like, this is why we built it like this. And it lays everything out cleanly like this in a beautifully designed PDF that also matches their style with their logos and everything. And it has links to the actual pages we built based on all their requests. So for our clients, this whole experience is so much better than it was when I was doing it all by myself. And this is all built in one workflow. So I just hand the agent their intake form and it gets building the whole site. Homepage, the lead magnet page, the about page, the blog post template, menus, logos, footer, pop-up, authors pages, 4 arrow pages, and everything else. And it builds it all based on their style. So when I did this for my first client, obviously I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I have a working website in an hour. But like with everything Claude Code, it gets you about 80% of the way there in no time. And then it's that last 20% that takes so much longer. Plus, I'm a perfectionist, so I really want to make these sites like world-class so that our clients are really blown away by them. So it's not like I just, give it to Claude Code and then it magically goes and clicks around Elementor for me and then does every single page perfectly and I just go make coffee. No, like obviously I have to keep guiding it. I have to look at each page and decide if it's good. I have to tell it when something looks weird, and sometimes I have to go into Elementor myself and kind of move things around, but it turns me into such a better builder. It's like having the best developer in the world sitting right beside me who can write these little bits of code that I don't know how to write, and it can clean parts of the site up that would normally just take me forever or things I could never even do, and it helps me make the site look way more custom. So now I can add things that I never used to be able to add. I can add logo sections that animate. I can add videos and animations that move as you scroll, like on Apple's website, like I said. I can add nicer buttons. I can add moving backgrounds and videos. I can add better lead magnet sections. I can make the blog post pages look more like actual media pages instead of just WordPress posts, And I can build their sign-up pages and everything, all their landing pages that just looks so custom and I can do all this without having to sit there and mess with margins and padding and section heights and CSS. Like Claude Code handles all that shit for me. And like I said before this, knowing what I wanted didn't always mean I could build it. Now there's a much smaller gap between the idea in my head and the thing that I'm actually able to build and hand over to our clients. And that's probably the biggest reason that I'm so excited about Claude Code. I think this is where AI actually starts to feel really useful to me. Like not in the vague way that people talk about it online. I mean like very specific ways of I can now build a better website for a client and charge $500 for it. I can deliver something they're excited about and I can do it in way less time than it used to take me. That's all really useful, and I have to say that the sites look sick. Like I'll throw up some examples on the screen here throughout the video, but I mean, I could never have done this myself before, or if I did, it would have taken me forever. So these are all personal brand websites for people who are like trying to launch real businesses around what they know. So they all have proper home pages, they have logos, they have lead magnet sign-up pages, they have their blog layouts, they have calls to action. They have the whole foundation that someone needs to start publishing content and building an email list. And again, like our clients aren't locked into some custom platform. They get to use it on WordPress and they get to edit it with Elementor. So when I hand it over to them, the client can still go in and make edits. And if they don't know how, we have a course on that teaches them how to edit websites with Elementor. So if they need to move stuff around, it's always there for them. So like I said, this all fits into a business that we already run. I didn't have to invent some whole new thing from scratch. I already knew websites. I already had people in our community who needed websites. And so Claude Code just made the whole thing that I already know how to do faster and better. And this is what's so cool because that's kind of where my ideas used to die. Like I'd have this big idea in my head, but I couldn't execute on it. I didn't know how to do it. And I think for myself and for everybody else, that's what Claude Code and Codex and these AI tools are doing. They're allowing people to just like unlock their creativity and build anything they want. So with Claude Code, for me, my ideas don't die as fast. And that might sound small, but it really isn't. Because if you're building online, like half the battle is just keeping up with all this momentum long enough that the thing actually gets finished. And right now, Claude Code is giving me and everybody else way more momentum than we would have had or that we've ever had, really. So I'm building faster. I'm testing new offers faster. I'm making things I couldn't have made before. And now finally, I made some actual money from it. $2,000 from 4 websites. So like I said, that's the first little bit of proof that I've had. And yeah, it meant that Doris let me upgrade to the $200 per month Claude Max plan. But more than that, it means that I found something that can probably be turned into a broader offer that I can give to more people. And I know it's early and I know it doesn't mean that I've figured everything out because really I've only built a few websites for people in my community. It's not the same thing as creating some huge AI business